I don't know of any topic that is more important for our country than the relationship between the United States and China. I'm a big fan of history. I love to read about history. I think it's one of the best ways to understand the future is to understand the past. And it strikes me that at some point in the future, someone will write a book about the 21st century. And I think that book will have mentions of a number of the things that consume our time in political debate. But I believe the central issue globally that will define the 21st century is the relationship between the United States and China and which direction it heads. Let me say at the outset that China is destined to be what it already is becoming, and that is a rich, important, and powerful nation. That in and of itself should not be threatening. It is a reality, and one that I think holds promise to the extent that a rich and powerful China is a responsible stakeholder in the affairs of the world. But I think there's another truism, and that is what is developing today, an incredibly serious imbalance between the United States and China on trade and commerce, increasingly on diplomacy, and potentially, eventually, militarily and geopolitically. And so when I come today to speak about China, it's not simply in the context of our current trade tensions, which is a part of a much broader issue. And the fact of the matter is that this is the way we should view it, because this is the way the Communist Party of China views it. The truth is that they view our trade tensions as an inevitable blip in their long-term plan to supplant the United States of America as the world's dominant political, military, and economic power. Now, it's understandable why many Americans would feel uneasy at the prospect of being supplanted by China. First of all, having seen so many of our industries that once thrived in our towns and cities weakened or leave altogether, and then reading about the grotesque violation of human rights and dignity of people in China's Communist Party's persecution of Christians and Muslims and other religious minorities. The sad fact is that we have come to this realization far too late in this city. For many years, many of the policy elites across the political spectrum turned a blind eye to this growing threat. There was this notion that once China became rich and prosperous, they would become like us, as if somehow economic prosperity, in the way China's achieving it, automatically leads to supporting values such as the ones that we hold dear. But the fact is that we can no longer ignore the reality that this is not the direction that China is headed, and it has implications for our country and the world. Our country, our workers and families, can no longer afford elected officials in this city who turn a blind eye to the seriousness of this challenge. At this point, given all the information before us and the trends that have clearly emerged, ignorance on this matter is no longer an excuse. And frankly, the Communist Party of China is no longer hiding its ambition about what this is all about. I'm not asking you to believe my words on this. I just ask you that you believe them, that you take their words seriously. And that's why I come here to point to a speech last week by Wang Qifan, who's a former Central Committee member and recently retired as the vice chair of the National People's Congress Financial and Economic Affairs Committee. He showed us, by the way, what passes as moderation within the Chinese Communist Party. In a speech he gave, he didn't speak in the typical communist jargon. He doesn't invoke abstract theories or laws of history or in any way hold back. He speaks with a frankness that we should actually be grateful for, because it enlightens us and hopefully propels us to take action. To Huang, as he makes very clear, the trade war that is ongoing is a fight to the death, an inevitable outcome in a fight between two systems. Paraphrasing Mao Zedong, he urged Chinese business people to shed their illusions and prepare for struggle. China is the rising power. The United States is the aging hegemon. And China's rise will be sustained, quote, at this time, the socialist road with Chinese characteristics is obviously more competitive than the U.S. economic system, he declared. Such confidence are not just his words, they emanate from the very top. Just after gaining power, their current president, apparently for life, Xi Jinping, told the party, quote, this is a quote, "It is inevitable that the superiority of our socialist system will be increasingly apparent, end quote.